The Tim Heale Podcasts. Ordinary people's extraordinary stories.
Welcome to the Tim Heale Podcast. In this episode, I'm going to have a chat with Dea. She's going to tell us all about her life. So, Dea, if you could tell me where you were born, if you could describe what it was like where you grew up, the schools you went to, and the education that you received.
Thank you, Tim. Yes, I tell people I'm from South America. I was born and raised in South America because I started in Mississippi. And since then, I have lived in 2 places in Georgia, 2 places in Florida, and Alabama. And that pretty well covers South America.
You had me going for a minute.
Yes.
I thought you were going to say Mexico or deepest, darkest Peru.
Right, but that is South America. So
Deep South.
I am from the Deep South. I'm from this little bitty town, and the only time I moved, my whole until I went off to college life was from the back bedroom to the front bedroom.
Wow.
So I had my roots in this little bitty quaint community of 5,000 people.
Wow.
Where just like the Cheers TV show, if your listeners or you know that, where everybody knows your name.
Yeah.
The people that I can remember going to Miss Annie's kindergarten class, sitting out in the grass and making clover necklaces. Those were the people I graduated with. We went, very few people moved in, or some people moved out, but the people I went to Miss Annie's kindergarten class with were the people I graduated with. And we had less than 100 in my graduating class.
Crikey.
Yes, but we had fabulous personal, up close and personal education. Mm-hmm. And there are advantages. Well, there's disadvantages of being in a small town because when you're old enough to be out of the house and around, then anytime you stepped out of line, your Aunt Pat will call your mom and say, "Do you know what I heard your daughter did?" So you had to behave, right? But there were advantages to being in a small town. When I needed something to wear, when I was driving and I needed something to wear, I could go up to the Thomas Great M store on Main Street, walk in, and the lady there, Louise, would help me find what I needed. She'd go, try this on. And when I found it, I would sign my name and they'd send my mom a bill. They knew who I was and I could just walk out. And when I was driving and I needed gas, wouldn't it be great if we had the gas prices we had back then when it was 29 cents a gallon or so. I would drive up to the full service station right on the corner of Main and First, and Clyde would come out and start pumping the gas and clean my windshield and check the oil. And when the hood was down, I knew I was ready to go, and I'd wave thanks and drive off. He would put that on my dad's bill. So there are advantages of being in a small town. And then I went all of maybe an hour away, 50 miles away to college. And half the people there I already knew from Girl Scouts or Girl State, where we have an opportunity to have a practice run of having a political position. And sports. I played high school basketball and did track. And so I knew, and I was involved in a lot of church youth groups. So half the people in college I already knew, or they knew somebody that knew somebody that knew somebody. So my 4 years of college was very community oriented. And
So how did you get to college if you've not done your your preschool, your kindergarten, your middle school, your junior high, your high school, and you've gone straight to college, 4 years in college. And did you start there, or did you have to come all the way back and start again?
Oh no, I graduated from high school, went to college. Of course.
No, you don't get it.
What?
You've graduated high school, and we haven't done junior high, or we haven't done middle school yet.
Oh, okay.
So it was the same school that you went to all the way through.
The same. I went to Forest Separate School District to elementary school. Miss Speed was my first grade teacher. And then we made it all the way to sixth grade, and that was how they did elementary. We went to middle school, and my first year of middle school was before they finished building a new building. It was the building that my dad had gone to school in. It was old. It was small town. This is the school. Went to middle school. Then they had the building ready. 8th grade. In junior high, 7th and 8th grade was junior high. I went in the new building, and that is where I went to high school for 4 years, playing basketball, being the editor of the yearbook my senior year, doing all the school things that you do.
Mm-hmm.
So did I fill in those blanks?
Well, yeah, but there's a little bit more that we need to have a look at.
Okay.
So being a small place with only a handful of people, and I guess nearly everybody went to church, did they?
We had, most people did. I went to a Presbyterian church, and right next to us was the Baptist church, and across the street was the Methodist church. And then about half a mile down the road was the Catholic church. And I saw this saying that said, I grew up in a time where, well, like I said, Aunt Pat would call my mom if I stepped out of line. There was discipline in the schools. There was discipline in the home. You got spanked up until a certain age, and then you got a definite talking to. And some people haven't, and it shows.
It definitely does.
But yes, there was a very strong, because it was small, and it was because it was so community oriented and everybody supported everybody. Yes, there was a large Christian base to the culture there. And, people went to church. Now, whether they were a Christian on Monday through Saturday was another question. But they went to church on Sunday, and it impacted how everything was run, because, they had to, well, they knew that people knew them. Now, no, I could say that, but I'm going to, anyway.
So you couldn't got away without going then? Not like me. I mean, I'm a hatch 'em, match 'em, dispatch 'em type of Christian.
Oh, you're okay. Explain that. I want to hear more about that.
Right, hatch 'em is christening, match 'em is getting married, and dispatch 'em is burying them.
Oh, you're a Marian.
That's about the only time I go to church. I mean,
we call those Christmas Christians.
Yeah, well, I don't do Christmas.
They check in at Christmas.
Yeah, they just go for Christmas, Christmas Eve
or Easter Christians. Yeah. Easter Christians. Yeah, the pastor. One person was leaving church, and he said, "Pastor, every time I come, you preach the same sermon. So, well, why don't you try coming on a different day than Easter?"
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. Oh, I am a church surviving POW,
Well, go on then.
preacher's old wife. My husband pastors for 40 years, 40 plus years. And that means I was first lady, or I was the preacher's wife.
You're the
And
vicar's wife. So you got
yeah,
involved with all the women's bits and pieces and
that's it.
the,
That's it.
the
So
Women's Institute and
yes.
flower arranging for the Sundays.
Well, every time we went to a church, and this is why we lived all over South America, it was because my husband was taking churches. First thing I would do was I would tell people, don't think of me as your typical preacher's wife, because one, I can't do flowers, and two, my piano teacher asked me to quit. So don't ask me to sit up there and play hymns, okay?
So you're a bit like me then. Can't carry a tune in a bucket.
Well, I can sing if somebody else will play the piano, or I used to. I haven't done it in a while, and it's kind of like a muscle that atrophies if you don't use it. If you don't use it, you lose it.
Absolutely.
But anyway, that may give you a little bit about the culture of the town that I grew up in. But here's the thing. I thought that having everybody in town care about you and know what you were doing, whether they were, telling on you or not, was normal. I thought that people, just knew who you were, and so they'd send a bill to your mom. That was normal. That's what I thought. I mean, because here's the thing. Whatever anyone experiences as they're growing up is the only view they have. So they think what they're experiencing is normal. They don't have anything to compare it to. Right? So if somebody grows up and nobody ever goes to church, then it's normal for nobody to go to church. Or if you grow up in a church where you have a chauffeur that takes you everywhere, doesn't everybody do that? Or if you grow up in a family where there's abuse, doesn't everybody, get beat on? But here's the thing. Well, I got married before I finished college. I had one more year. And when we got married, we went all the way another 20 minutes away for my husband to go to seminary to prepare to be a pastor. And of course, I knew almost everybody there. And then 3 years later, and 2 babies later, we moved 13 hours away to Central Florida.
Wow.
I didn't know anybody. It was a different culture. I didn't understand. And, back in my hometown, I had distant cousins, almost everybody there. But people would say, hey, how you doing? How's your mom and them? How's your mom and them? What that translates is, how is your mother doing? And all of your other relatives and anybody in your family. I haven't seen them in a while. Make sure you tell them I'm asking about them and I wonder how they're doing. And
so tell me, what was it like the first time that you tried to drive out the gas station without paying?
Oh, rude awakening. You go to Florida and you say, hey, nice to meet you. I'm Dea. And my maiden name was McCrory and Irby. So when you're Dea McCrory, your grandfather used to ride his horse around as a sheriff in the county. And I remember seeing, and your uncle's the Chamber of Commerce. But everybody knew everybody. Well, I go to Florida and I go, hey, nice to meet you. I'm Dea Irby, Dea McCrory Irby. And they would go, so? And I'm like, nobody ever said, how's your mom and them? Nobody cared. Nobody knew me. And for the first time, I realized how special it is to feel a part of a community, to feel like you belong, to have identity, and skipping over. I know you want to go through my work history. I spent how many years? I was a stay in the van mom. Some people call it a stay at home mom, but hey, I was never at home. I was always in the van. And all those times we moved to 2 places in Georgia and Florida and into Alabama and back to Mississippi, where we said we'd never go back to, never say never. Lived in 2 more places in Mississippi. Just about every time we moved, we had a baby. So even though I've lived in 15 homes, we didn't have 15 babies. But guess how many we ended up with? Guess how many we ended up with?
Well, at least 8.
That's it. We had 8. We had 8. You read my bio. And of course, you know, we got finished twice. We had our first batch. Every other year we had one. And then we were done. Because 4, 2 girls, 2 boys, that's great.
Yeah.
5 years later, when we moved, oh, wait, I know this feeling. The 3 Musketeers. Every other year we had a son. And then 7. Some people say 7 is the perfect number, right? 7. 8 years later, our oldest is getting married. And I get to buy a Mother of the Bride maternity dress. So,
so there's a mistake then.
No, I tell you what. She's awesome. She's awesome and totally incredible. And she just graduated from college and got her dream job working for a film production company in Pennsylvania. And my husband and I are now, after 45 years, we are empty nesters.
Well, you managed to get rid of them all.
Yes. And then none of them have
lost?
moved back. None of them have moved back.
Do you feel lost? Do you feel like it's empty? You've got nothing to do now? You've got nobody to go around picking stuff up after? Oh, no, the score.
I still have my husband. So I'm not totally an empty nester. But do you know how easy it is if my husband and I decide we want to go somewhere? We say, hey, why don't we da-da-da-da? And we go, okay. And we do. It's not, we're going to take all the kids. So let's get your shoes and let's find your this and let's pack your this. And oh, wait, we left one. Okay, let's go back. What's that? Or let's arrange for somebody to come and watch the kids. And where you did it, it's just like, hey, do you want to go somewhere? Yeah. Okay.
Don't have to take them.
Don't have to worry about them.
They're
all taken care of. They're all taken care of. And of course, they're out there multiplying. So guess how many we're up to on grandchildren?
Oh, quite a few.
Yes. 19.
19? God, grief.
And we have
must cost a fortune. You must have a birthday every other day.
Actually, what's really fun is we have a family calendar with everybody's birthday on it so I can remember. Yes, a grandson's birthday is tomorrow. A grandson's birthday was the 1st of June on the day of his mother's birthday on June the 1st. And of my 8 children, 2 sets of them share the same birthday. I have 2 born 10 years apart on September 22nd and 2 born 11 years apart on October 14th. I got rid of them.
How can you manage to do that?
I got rid of them.
Must be crazy at Christmas.
Well, that is, you know what? You're not the first person to say that. And what's really fun or not is that when they grew up, you want them to leave the nest and fly out there. My children have lived on 6 continents. So to have a holiday where everybody is in the United States is rare. This past Christmas was, we managed to get all but one family of 6 in one location for about 4 hours, where one was just arriving with his family of 5, and one, the youngest, was flying out to go back to Pennsylvania. So I feel like after all of this, I have earned an air traffic controller license, especially when I had 4 of my children playing on summer baseball, softball leagues in 2 different parks on 3 different fields. And you had to get them to their practice and to their games and do your concession stand work, so for everything. So I don't remember watching any games.
So I guess you didn't have much of a work life then.
So
too busy chasing around after kids.
Yes, that's why I say I was a stay in the van mom forever, until I had an opportunity when we lived in North Georgia. So my work history is, we got married and my husband was a pastor, so I was the preacher's wife. And that's a job. Did that. And I brought I didn't fix flowers and I didn't play the piano, but I did bring drama. I mean, good drama, like theatrics. I don't know. Some people have said I brought
bringing drama with 8 kids. That's enough drama for anybody, I would have thought.
So yeah, I'm a playwright, producer, and director. So in different church situations, depending on our need and our whatever, I would develop a ministry of young people and adults sometimes too, that would do productions, put on a production. So I did do that, but eventually I did have an opportunity to have my own tea room, to own and operate a tea room. I always thought maybe one day I can do Dea's Deli or something, because I love to cook, which is good if you have many mouths to feed. And I loved entertaining and having showing hospitality to people and making people feel like they're awesome, right? You're special. Absolutely. Pampering people. So that was my first outside the home work. And I did that for 7 years. And when we moved to North Carolina, people were like, oh, because we had to close. How are we going to get your Greek egg salad and things like that? Well, as it happens, I have written a cookbook and published it. So if you want, you can make your own egg salad. Buy my cookbook. So, yes.
Good ploy.
Yes. So,
it's a good marketing strategy.
Yes.
Set up a really good business, write a book, and then close the business and sell the book.
That's it. And well, actually, I made way more money on my cookbook sales than I did having a tea room. That was the timing. There's so many things about it were not going to be monetarily profitable. I can tell you that. But I loved it. And my customers loved it. And I built this real community of loyal people. Sometimes they were so loyal, they got dishes named after them. Miller's Stew is a Brunswick stew that doctor and son doctor dentist would come in at least 3 times a week on their lunch break to have Miller's Stew. And so that was fun. But then we moved to North Carolina, and I'm looking at the future. My husband's going to retire. my daughter's going to go off to college and eventually graduate. What am I going to do then? Oh, I love people. I love helping people find their, meet their goals. I'll get a real estate license. So that brought me to today of being a real estate agent. But I wanted more. I wanted to be able to empower people and talk to people and share with people in a way that they, to build community wherever people are. Because I know what it's like to have it, and I know what it's like not to have it. And especially people in business. Right now, with the Great Resignation in America, you have so many people leaving work. But if it was so awesome to be there, do you think they would leave? Probably not. I mean, what is it? Why are they? Because they don't feel connected. They don't feel like there's a community that they belong to. And if they're not there, it doesn't really matter, but it should. So I'm on a mission to bring the message of people to leaders in the marketplace that stop and look at your people. They are people, and they have a human need to be connected and part of a community. So that's where I am today.
So this connecting people then, building a community at work. So it's a bit like us in the British military. When I was in the army, we work as teams. We live, work, eat, sleep, fight as a team. And we have core values that are instilled in us. And whenever there's a crisis going on in the UK, the first people they call is the British military to come and sort it out. And they're now talking about us sorting out all these this aircraft malarkey, where I don't know whether you've got it in America at the moment, but we've got a shortage of people working in the airline industry, baggage handlers and stuff like that. And flights being cancelled left, right, and Chelsea. And somebody said on the news, I think it was today, get the British military in to sort it out. Well, the problem is with the British military, what they've done is they've cut them and cut them and cut them, and almost cut them down to the quick. So they're just about holding their own with the operations that they're out on at the moment, and they can't take on any other tasks because they're just too busy or they're fragged. So I can see where you're coming from. Why people want to leave companies that don't value them is because they don't value them. And why would you work for somebody that doesn't value you and doesn't give you that sense of belonging, doesn't give you that sense of pride in what you're doing? So I think that's one of the big things why people tend to leave what they're doing.
So I have a 5-facet leadership strategy that is based on the fact that people don't just want to be connected. They want to be claimed. They want to feel like they seriously belong somewhere. And so, I have a visual aid. People want to be claimed. And each letter stands for a facet of what that means. So I'm going to give you I'm going to give you a test. People want these 5 things. What do you think the C stands for that people want?
Connecting. Community.
Okay. They want to know that they are chosen. It's psychologically proven that there is an effect on that little unathletic child in PE that always got picked last for the team. But if you get picked first, it does make a difference as well. So when you're in your hiring process, if they have to go through a rigorous series of interviews and tests to finally get chosen, to know that they got selected, it gives them an element of, I'm important, I'm special, I got chosen out of all those people that applied. So, and you can use, what's cool about this concept is because people are people, whether they're part of an organization or in a relationship with one other person, they're a person, and we have needs. Maslow's hierarchy of need has belonging really close to the bottom, right after food, clothing, and shelter. So to know that you're chosen, like, why is it so special when somebody proposes to somebody? What they're saying is, I'm choosing you to be with me for the rest of our lives, right? So that's special. So people want to know that they're chosen. And just reminding your workers or reminding anybody you have a relation. I'm so glad that you're my friend. You know, that's saying, I'm glad I've chosen you to be my friend. And it just makes somebody feel good. I feel honored that you chose me to be on your podcast. That's an honor to me. And I feel special.
You're very important to me.
Yeah. So that makes me feel good to know, out of all the people, or maybe you never turn anybody down, but I do. I also chose you to apply, to ask you, and I could have said, no, never mind. But so it makes a difference when we know that where we are is because we've chosen it. So what's the L? People want to be
loved.
Yes. Nobody gets that one wrong, because everybody knows what it means to be loved. And the kind of love is, well, in a workplace, it's an environment that's secure, non-threatening, and there's trust and respect. But this is a love that is in spite of what you do or what you say, I'm still going to love you. And this helps in the parenting realm. It's I may not like what you're doing, but I still love you. It's not a because of love, because you turned in your paper on time, because you cleaned your room, because you brought me flowers. That's not the kind of love we're talking about. It's also not an if you recognize that I did something, or if you do this, if you do that, then I'll love you. That's not the kind of love we're talking about. We're talking about in spite of anything you say and do, I am going to love you. So that's the L. The A, what do you think the A is?
Appreciated.
That is really close to the word that I've chosen, acknowledged. Acknowledged, productive people are not always, productive people are not always acknowledged, but acknowledged people are always productive. People want to know that what they're doing, who they're being, is seen and acknowledged. And the simplest tip I can give somebody, that it costs you absolutely nothing, Tim, that you can use in everyday life, is what I just did, Tim. Use people's names.
Yep.
When you use somebody's name, you're saying, I see you as I acknowledge that you are an individual person with your own identity, and I'm calling you by name. Go to a store and or be at a restaurant and look for the name tag and use their name with them.
people in shops tend to get a fairly rough deal of it sometimes when things ain't going quite right, and a customer is always right and gives them a hard time because I'm better than them. Well, they ain't.
Right.
They wouldn't be able to get what they wanted if they weren't there.
I had an experience just the other day. I needed to get something at the store. I went online to find out which little Family Dollar place was open already. And I got there. It was supposed to open at 8. It's 5 till 9 and it's not open. And I see the person in there and I'm knocking on the door and he's like, and I'm like, what in the world? Finally, he comes and unlocks the door. Now, already I can tell he's had a bad day, right? So
You're going to make it worse.
Yes, I get my just a couple of items and I go up and I say, instead of, why didn't you have the door open? I said, have you changed your hours of operation? Giving him a benefit of the doubt. And he said, no, the manager just called me right before we were supposed to open, said he's sick. I have to come up here and open it and I have to do it. You know, I just took that moment to ask a question and acknowledge that I knew this. And I said, man, sorry about that. Well, I hope your day is better. So I'm acknowledging the stress that he's probably under. But, you know, stop and don't take people, acknowledge that other people may not be having a good day, you know, because we all don't have a good day sometimes, right?
Everybody has a bad day occasionally.
That's right.
And some people just make it worse.
We don't have to kick them when they're down and make them stay there. No. So we can choose them and love on them and acknowledge where they are to help them come out of it. So what do you think the I is? This is 2 words, the word and a preposition.
Oh, empower.
That is close. Invested in. Invested in. You can invest, if you're a boss or in the marketplace, you can invest training, you can invest resources, you can invest a raise. One of the most impactful things you can invest in anybody, whether you're in the marketplace or in the family or just in a relationship, is invest time. Time to listen and be present. How many times when we're having a conversation with someone are we're there, we're listening, except we're also figuring out what we're going to say when they finish talking. We are not present. We're in the future. Mm-hmm. And especially in the home with children. Do you know how children spell love? Time. If you will spend time with me, I know that I'm reminded how much you love me. Investing in people and listening. And as you listen, ask another question and ask another question and ask another question to go deeper into it so they know that you're really listening. And do you know if you rearrange the letters of listen, do you know what it spells? It spells silent.
That's why you got 2 of these, 1 of these.
You are so right. You are so right. So that brings us to the M. People want to know what that starts with an M. I've got 3 answers for this one. I've got a 1-word answer. I've got a 2 3-word answers, but they all mean the same thing. And being starts with an M too. But what do you think people want to know? If they want to be chosen and loved, acknowledged, invested in, and what do they want to feel?
Got me on that one. Go on.
That they matter.
Of course they do.
And And the reason how you can help them feel like they matter is to remind them that they are made for greatness. And when I say made for greatness, I mean not that you're going to get to be on the Tim Heale show, not that you're going to be on the cover of a magazine, but you are going to be, you are here. The reason you're here is because you have something to offer the world. Your creator made you with gifts and abilities that nobody else has, with a string of experiences in your life that no one else has lived or had. Which is what you're focusing on your podcast. All the people with their stories, each one of them has their offering to the world. And when you are fully being what you have to offer to the world, fully doing the works you were created to do, then you are being great. And the other M is making a difference. Only you can make the difference that you can make.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can't make a difference for somebody else. And people want to know, especially in the workplace, that, why do you see so many companies that, the company that says, if you buy one of our shoes, we'll donate another pair of shoes to somewhere, or X amount of our profits go to this cause or that cause. And people want to support that company. And the people want to work there because they feel like they are making a difference in the world by what they're doing and what they're accomplishing, and they're supporting their company. So, and the thing about all 5 of these facets is they're facets like a diamond. They all fold in on each other to make this beautiful gem. Because if you know you're chosen, then you know you're loved. And somebody acknowledged you and is investing in you because you were chosen. And then that means, yes, you do matter. So
and can make a difference.
It does. It does. So from my growing up in what I thought was normal to be part of a community, to going to 13 hours away from anybody or anything that was familiar and nobody wanted me to be a part of it, I have a passion for helping people know that their claims, they do belong. And then with the pandemic, that kind of set everybody off. We have a higher rate of suicides, higher rate of depression, because people don't feel like they belong. And I believe in a sea of humanity that belonging is a shore of security, love, and identity. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Boy, that's an amazing story. So
there's that.
So that brings you right up to date.
Yes, it does.
I'm just going to take you back a little bit.
Okay.
Back to college.
Oh, okay.
Let's just have a quick look at college, because you got married 3 years into a 4-year course. Did you complete the course? Did you come out with a master's degree or whatever it was?
I did come out with a bachelor's degree. In fact, I stood outside in the Mississippi heat in May in a black graduation robe. Let's see, I was 4 months pregnant.
Was that part of the curriculum?
It was so hot. But I did complete my studies, and I got a degree. Basically, it was a great degree for being a preacher's wife and working in the church. I got a Christian education degree with a Bible minor. I was really close to getting also a minor in theater and I don't know what they put it in, sports. Somehow I managed to not only teach archery, but get credit for taking the course, and teach tennis and get credit for taking the course. So I got really close to a PE minor as well. So anyway, I did finish. And yeah. And my husband finished his seminary, 3 years of seminary. So when we left, 2 years later, we had our first 2 babies.
Mm-hmm. So did he get ordained?
Yes.
So he can do the old atch, match, and dispatch.
Yes, he can. In fact, even though he's retired, we had the privilege a couple of weekends ago of driving down to South Carolina, and in a beautiful backyard wedding, he performed the wedding for the son of a couple he performed the wedding for in one of our early churches.
Wow.
That was fun.
Well, I was at a wedding the other week, and I was the master of ceremony.
Wow.
So I was giving it the old, my lords, ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding for the bride and the bride.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yes. Yeah, it was good fun. It was a great wedding.
Awesome. So you never know what adventure is going to come next.
I know. I could be a professional.
Yes. Somebody can call
MC at weddings.
Yes.
Wedding, bar mitzvahs.
Right. In between.
Yeah.
Bar mitzvahs and the brisks. How do you say that? Yeah. But you probably wouldn't do that because you're not a rabbi.
No.
Okay.
I'm not one of them spectacles, testicles, wallet and watch type either. Go and do a few Hail Marys.
All right.
So there you go.
So, and that's anything else we need to discuss?
Well, I think we've caught most of it there, I think.
I think so.
So what about Women's Institute? Do you run one of those in the church?
We had women in the church, and I actually, my take on it was, and I did a number of women's Bible studies, where I would teach and we would come. But my first rule always was check your mask at the door. Nobody, we're not going to pretend anything. You're going to come here, you're going to be real. And just like Las Vegas, what happens here stays here.
Absolutely.
I want you to be open and honest, and that's it. I do have one story. I think it's about a minute and a half, 2 minutes left. That is my split second difference story that might be a good one to end on, because you never know what's going to happen in a split second.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, it's Memorial Day weekend, the year 2000. It's midnight on a dark.
It's just gone.
Yeah.
It's 2022. It's just gone. You've just had your Memorial weekend.
Just happened. We're on a dark, moonless 4-lane highway. And I'm driving back from dropping off my daughter on a quick 12-hour round trip. My mom's with me. I can still smell her Estee Lauder perfume. We're listening to a cassette tape way back when of original music one of my sons had written. And we're having
Was it an 8-track?
No, we made it to the little flat cassette tape. And we're about 30 minutes from home. But I was minutes from ending someone's life.
Ooh.
we're driving along, and I see out of the corner of my eye bright headlights approaching the intersection, the dark intersection. And before I had time to brake or even realize, they did not stop. And boom, we hit. And we spun around, and they went up like a crumpled aluminum soda can up against a fence on the intersection. Our airbags deployed, and I'm like, oh, I've killed my mom. Mom? And I hear this, yeah, oh, she's not dead. She moved the airbag, and the way she was sitting, I could tell she probably broke her collarbone, and my chest was hurting. I don't know what the airbag did to me, but I stepped out of the car, and out of the front of the van, steam was billowing like smoke from a campfire that's doused with water. And then I looked up. The traffic light that was in the middle of the intersection was totally dark. It was dead. No light. Then I realized that all the street lights at the intersection were out. And then a man ran up from behind me and said, hey, I saw the whole thing. They just ran out in front of you. You didn't even have time to brake. And I've already called the 911, and they're sending people to help. And as I looked around, yes, there was that crumpled up like a discarded soda can, Nissan Sentra, up against a fence. And then the cacophony of sounds of sirens and lights flashing, the paramedics and the emergency personnel showed up. And then I watched as they went up to the hill on the corner and pulled out of the car 2 bodies and laid them in the grass. It was weeks before we got the final verdict that yes, in fact, it had been an accident. The lights were officially out, and so were the lights on the street corners. And no, I wasn't going to prison for vehicular homicide. But I still had to deal with 2 people. Their lives ended that night. Then I realized that every one of us, our lives are written in the book of life, and our days are numbered. And the designer, the author of that book, has decided when and how those days will end. That gave me some peace, but even more, I realized not a second, not a half second, but a split second difference. If I had entered that intersection a split second sooner, they would have hit me, and I would have been the one dead. And as I thought about that, I realized as we go through life every day, we don't know, we are not aware of how many split seconds we're saved from. And if we're here and we're still here and our split second hasn't come, we should live life to the fullest.
Absolutely.
And do all that we can while we're here. So I am living before my split second comes as full as I can, and some for those 2 lives that were lost.
Live every day as though it's your last, because one day it will be.
And a split second difference will determine it.
Well, on that cheery note then.
On that cheery note, we can end. Thank you for listening.
No, thank you for telling. That's been awesome.
Thank you, Tim.
You're welcome.
The Tim Heale Podcasts. Ordinary people's extraordinary stories.